for joining us today. I'm Michael Dimenstein. I'm the president of the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven, and we appreciate your participation in this year's annual meeting. The meeting itself, the materials that we're going to be sharing with you are going to be recorded, so people who could not make it to the meeting can actually access the meeting proceedings on the website. They'll be posted on our website, which is jewishhistorynh.org. Hopefully you'll be able to see these slides. If we need to adjust the lighting in here, it's either on or off. So, are you able to see the screen all the way back?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So let me just start by reiterating what our mission as an organization is. We, as part of our strategic planning efforts, a few years ago, we worked on updating our mission, and the board of directors adopted this mission statement, which is that the mission of the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven is to collect, publish, and preserve archival materials and to serve as a research and educational center documenting the history of civic, cultural, and religious contributions to the Greater New Haven Jewish community. And we see all of those facets of our work as being important, not one more than another. Today's agenda will basically be giving you some sense of what we have been doing over the past year, and to also introduce our slate of new board members and officers, and any other business that's brought up. The meeting itself will be followed by an open house to which we have invited. There were 4 other organizations that shared this space with us that are ethnic historical societies, including the Greater New Haven African American Historical Society, the Italian American Historical Society of Connecticut, the Irish American Historical Society of Connecticut, and the Ukrainian Historical Society. And we have also opened this to the Southern Connecticut State University faculty and staff. We are here on this campus through actually their hospitality and generosity. They own this property and they allow us to use it, and that has been really important to our success. In welcoming you, let me tell you this is our 48th year since our founding in 1976. We were founded by members of this community who saw the need to collect and preserve the primary source documents and materials that chronicle the history of Jews in New Haven and the surrounding areas. In fact, over the years, a series of 10 volumes entitled Jews in New Haven has been published and may now be accessed via our website, again, jewishhistorynh.org. Our mission, which we've shared with you, pays tribute to those whose vision we pursue still today, and we see our work as a commandment or a mitzvah to provide our history to future generations. And by your membership in this organization and your attendance here today and your financial support, you have a part in performing this important mitzvah, so thank you to all of you. We'll talk about a number of programs that we have provided over this past year. We engage as an organization in various activities, events, and programs that further our mission. Here are a few visual examples, and what you're seeing here are activities such as presenting learning sessions to children at Camp Gan Israel at the Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy, author Dan Oren's program on Jewish genealogy presented at the JCC, researching and sharing history of early leaders of the greater New Haven Jewish community, including one in particular is the Ullman family, who at one time ran the Strauss-Adler Corset Company in Worcester Square. And what you see here is one of the members, the direct descendants of the Ullmans, presented the Jewish Historical Society this year with a beautiful silver tea service that was inscribed by the local B'nai B'rith chapter in recognition of the family's contributions to the lodge and to the community. And this family started a number of things, including what ultimately became the United Way of Greater New Haven. That was part of their history. You also see participation in some of the Jewish Federation's programs, such as Shalom Baby, where members of our organization were reaching out to young families. We're always looking for new members, and we like to think that we can appeal to young families, and we're seeing that there is more and more interest in the community as we connect with these groups. A few more glimpses in past years' activities, including the Judaica Project, which was funded by an impact grant from the Jewish Federation and consisted of a monthly interactive Zoom sessions with presentations by artisans, vendors, educators, and collectors of Jewish ritual and cultural artifacts. Our annual award celebration, which is our major annual community event and fundraiser, you see we honored Robin Dupliski last year. We work closely with the Ethnic Heritage Center, where, as I said, we share not only the archival space, but we are, part of that organization, and we participate in some of the programs that they sponsor, including the Walk New Haven guided tour series that one of our past presidents, Rhoda Samuel, has been coordinating. And also the annual Judith Ann Schiff Women's History Program, which we have started in collaboration with the New Haven Museum. And we have done this for 2 years now and hope to be doing that on an annual basis going forward. As it is our custom at this time, we pause to remember those whom we lost as members or leaders during the past year. And I don't know if how legible that is from where you are, but list of individuals who were part of our organizations: Sivian Block, Marjorie Jacobs, Isidore Judah, Joe Lieberman, Senator, Rhoda Myers, Irving Perlmutter, Ellen Ash Peters, who you may recall was a Supreme Court judge in Connecticut, and the late Rena Seltzer. May their memories be for an eternal blessing. Also, last year we lost several members whose leadership roles we remember and honor at this time. Lucille Alderman, who served as a member of our advisory committee. Edith Goodmaster, who was a past treasurer of this organization. Burton Levine, who was a past president and a devoted board member for many years. Charles Ludwig, who was a past president and board member. And Phyllis Medvedow, who served as a board member for many years and became an honorary director. Sadly, we lost these leaders over the past year who gave a lot of dedicated service to the organization, and we not only miss them, but we want to carry on their legacy. We have within our four walls here, we maintain the archives for the Jewish Historical Society, and it is really the centerpiece of this operation. And we've been blessed to have talented staff, each of whom will work part-time. But there's been a lot of activity that has been going on. You will meet, if you haven't already, Nicole Zador, who is our managing archivist and who joined us earlier this year. And we're very, very fortunate to have somebody with her expertise and experience. Within our archives, there were, over this past year, new accessions that included 10 sets of objects, 2 scrapbooks, and 6 archival collections, which would be collections that individuals or organizations have donated in their entirety to us. There were 54 research projects that were requested and completed. We get requests that come in via email, by phone, by mail, and they are generally specific topics that individuals or groups are looking for us to provide more information to, and there were 54 such projects. We receive those requests for research from throughout the U.S. and outside of the country. And this past year, we have received requests that have come from California, of course, Connecticut, Florida, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Washington State, as well as one request from the United Kingdom. And those are requests that could range for something very simple, like can you help us locate where an individual lived, worked, is buried, or it could be something that could be much more extensive that had to do with the life and time and career of an individual. I mentioned how we engage in a number of activities, including programs that are presented by the organization. And last year, we offered our members and the community a wide variety of programming, almost monthly. And in certain months, there are more than one program. Through the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven's Community Impact Grant and through other collaborative efforts, we have had the opportunity to partner with several synagogues, community organizations, and other community resources to expand our network and to enhance the resources that we have in our own possession. And just to go through a few of these, I mentioned the Judaica Project. The Judaica Project was part of a grant that we received from the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven, where we proposed a partnership with Rabbi Rena Judd, who is the Director of Jewish Life at Quinnipiac University. She runs the Peter Harold House for Jewish Life on the Quinnipiac campus, and she came to us with a project that she has had that has worked successfully, where she introduces students who may or may not have a Jewish tradition of their own. She provides them the materials to create their traditions. And these are articles of Judaica. They could be candlesticks, they could be mezuzot, sidurim, Seder plates, and she collects them through donations and thrift shops, and makes sure that they find homes with the students, and the students really appreciate them and cherish these items. And so we worked with Rabbi Judd, and we're actually able to get speakers each month to speak on a particular aspect of Judaica. And you can see here in July we had a presentation on thrifting Judaica, another one on crafting Judaica by an artisan. There was a session that we did just prior to Rosh Hashanah when Jake Griffith Rosenberger, who had been our project archivist and who completed his work earlier this year, he actually led on Zoom a show and tell before Rosh Hashanah, as people brought out their treasured Judaica items and shared them and told the stories, and it's always the story about them that's so important. We had another vendor who talked about her business. In October, we held our annual award celebration, and we do have another one coming up in October. It will be October 27th at the JCC. This past year, we honored Robin Teplitsky. In October of 2024, we will be honoring 3 women of this community, and one of them is with us here today. That is Amy Rashba, who is the former CEO of Jewish Family Service of Greater New Haven. And we will also be honoring Lindy Lee Gold, who is a leader and philanthropist in this community, and Mrs. Canary Scheel, who has been a lifelong Jewish educator. And so we look forward to that program. Mark your calendars. We are sending out save the dates, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. As I said before, that's really our main community event and fundraiser, and one that really does draw a crowd. In December, we sponsored a Hanukkah party for the residents of the towers, and that filled their temporary dining room. Their regular dining room was under construction, and it was a wonderful turnout, and I think that it was a great experience for those of us who participated in it. We also began through a second impact grant that we received from the Jewish Federation. We developed a lecture series, a seminar series that was done in partnership with 2 synagogues, with Temple Beth Shalom in Hampton and Congregation Mishkan Israel in Hampton, as well as with the Jewish Community Relations Council of the Federation. And the series was titled Meeting the Moment. There were four programs that were presented, each with a different topic that was representing one of the greatest challenges to the Jewish community of our time. And the programs were held in December, January, March, and April. The topics were the evolution of the American synagogue, the intermarried families in contemporary Jewish community, modern anti-Semitism, and that was well before October 7th, so it had perhaps a different slant to it. and Zionism in American Jewish identity. Each of them national speakers who drew a crowd. On the average, we had about 90 people showing up for these sessions, which was phenomenal. We also, in March, had our second annual Judith Ann Schiff Women's History Program, during which we honored Laurel Vlock, whose name may be familiar to you. She lived in this community, and she had a regular TV program locally called Dialogue with Laurel Vlock, but most importantly in her career, she was a documentary filmmaker. And she developed a documentary film for which she won a New York Emmy Award. And that was on the Holocaust, on the testimonies of witnesses to the Holocaust, individuals who survived and who told their stories not just through audio but through video, where you can actually capture their feelings and emotions, and it was highly successful. And what it gave rise to was the establishment of the Fortunoff Archive for Holocaust testimonies at Yale, which is still something that's a very important component of the Beinecke Library section. And we actually have a member of our board who is actually on assignment in Vienna right now, who runs the Fortunoff Archives. In April, we worked with the Federation to host a women's philanthropy leadership development program here in our archives to familiarize these up-and-coming philanthropic leaders about organizations such as this one. That I think we had, it was over 20 women who are probably the next generation of leaders in this community. And again, a good example of how we want to network and connect with people who will help us carry forward the legacy of this organization. I mentioned the work that we did on the research for the Ullman family, and we have some things we can share with you later on. We also worked very closely with the Holocaust Memory Committee on this year's Yom HaShoah program. They came to us asking us for assistance in conceptualizing an exhibit that would show, create some demonstration of what pre-Holocaust life was like in Europe. And out of that, there was work that was done with our project archivist, Jake Rosenberger, and the committee leaders for Holocaust Memory. And they developed a really spectacular exhibit that was shown at Congregation Or Shalom in Orange. And I believe it's going to be an itinerant exhibit that will be moving around the community. I mentioned the Shalom Baby activities where we reach out to young families. And last but not least, we kind of ended this year of activities with an extraordinary program that was held at the JCC earlier this month on oral histories, the importance of oral histories, what the technology is, why it's important that oral histories be collected, and why it's important that we not wait and do them now. And we were really very fortunate to have two experts in the field, including Dr. Andy Horwitz, who is an associate professor of history at UConn, but has also been named Connecticut State Historian by Governor Lamont. And Andy grew up in the greater New Haven community, so we're so blessed to have him and members of his family there. Also, another UConn history professor, Dr. Fiona Vernal, who is herself an expert in oral histories and the technology. And a couple of us worked with these two professors in getting trained to conduct an oral history. We have people in our organization, and I will point again to Rhoda Samuel, who has worked on numerous oral histories over the past several years, which are recorded and part of our video archives. But we want to kind of revitalize, we want to reignite interest in oral histories, find more people who will help us conduct them, and people who will volunteer to be interviewed. And one of the people we were able to persuade to be interviewed was one of the honorees coming up in our October program, Kinneret Shiel. And she had just a fascinating life that we talked. She's 97 years old and completely with it, and just was able to really provide for us so much detail about her life that we're very, very fortunate to have recorded. And at our workshop earlier this month, she sat on a panel of speakers, talked about what it was like to be the subject of an oral history, and why she felt it was important for her to agree to do it. I hope that all of you will have the opportunity to attend our program on October 27th to not only meet Kinneret, but to understand why it was so important that oral histories be something that we continue to focus on doing. We have in our collection over 400 recorded histories, and we intend to expand that. The technology, as we've learned, has become much more user-friendly. If you have a cell phone, you can do it. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for the October event. I wanted to share with you what we think were our major accomplishments over this past year. I think that we set out each year, because we do have a strategic plan, to do a number of things as an organization. And a lot of what we do is really geared to how can we preserve what we have built for the future. We like to say that what we do is we collect the past for the present and the future. But so much of our activity and the funds that we raise, whether it's through our annual award celebration, or through the Great Give, or through donations and bequests, that really goes to keeping the archives going and making sure that we are able to meet the needs that come to us. Requests for research, requests for educational programs that we can present, especially to young people. We had over 200 guests at our annual award celebration at the JCC last October. We hope we can come close to that again this year. We welcomed 40 new members, many of whom came in through that event. in October. So that event in October is not only important as a fundraiser, but it's also important as a membership raiser. We had over 120 guests who came to the Women's History Month program in March at the New Haven Museum when we honored Laurel Vlock, including members of her family, people who had worked with her over the years. We had speakers both in person from her family, as well as individuals who submitted videotapes of not only their recollections of their work with Laurel, but also clips of videos that they worked on together professionally. I mentioned that we lost Burton Levine of blessed memory last year. Burton was, as many of you know, a professor in Connecticut and had a long and successful career in academia. And he had a collection of writing that he donated to us that is now not only part of our collection, but it's also through the work of our archivists, accessible through Connecticut Archives Online. So this is, Burton's legacy lives on not only here within our organization, but is accessible by students and scholars and researchers who can access that information online. We developed policies on acquisition and deaccession of materials that we receive. Deaccession, we're holding a book sale today, and I'll talk a little about that, but there need to be guidelines for organizations to follow on what can we accept into our archives, what shouldn't we accept. If we find that once we have accepted something, that it no longer fits our needs, it no longer meets our mission, we have to have criteria for making that decision. And so we did develop guidelines. And let me take a few minutes to talk about the books. And I know just before we started the meeting, several of you have been looking at them. We have in our possession a huge surplus of books that have been donated over the years to the Jewish Historical Society. And why are they surplus? They're surplus for a few reasons. They could be that we already have copies, and these are duplicates, and we don't need a lot of them. It could also be that we probably never should have accepted them in the beginning. They didn't meet our criteria. Our organization exists to chronicle the history of the local Jewish community, and that really is our focus. And there was a lot of wonderful material that is published, as you'll see, on Judaica and Jewish culture, but really few of the books that we have that meet that description belong here as part of our collection. But they're wonderful books, and they should be used and recycled, and we want to make them available. So today, and hopefully in the future we'll be doing the same. These are not all the books that we own. We own a lot more that we're looking to, that we are deaccessioning. We're selling them at $1 a book, or we have big bags. If you can fill up a bag, you can walk away with a bag full of books for $5, and you can fit probably a dozen books in a bag. So we hope you'll browse and walk away with some of our deaccession books. This past year, I mentioned that Nicole joined us. We were so fortunate that we conducted a national search. Jake was leaving us. He had completed the project for which he was hired and was moving across country. And so we got down to business with a search committee to find a managing archivist, and that search culminated in our hiring Nicole. She comes with stellar credentials, including a bachelor's degree summa cum laude in creative writing and Judaic and Near Eastern studies from Brandeis, as well as a master's in library and information science and archival management from Simmons University. And the other wonderful thing about Nicole's experience, in addition to all the great skills and enthusiasm that she has for the work, is she's done some extraordinary work on the Jewish Women's Archive in Boston in their oral history project. And so we're looking forward to really capitalizing on that talent as we focus more on oral histories. I mentioned Jake's departure. The project that Jake worked on and completed this past year was on the Jewish Home for the Aged collection, which is I think many of you remember, it was a nursing home, really, a long-term care facility that was sponsored by the Jewish community until it became defunct, and the building was sold to a national for-profit nursing home, which still occupies that space. It had existed for many years. I believe it was in the 1920s that it was established. And we were asked by the Jewish Foundation, who were given the assets of that organization, to help them to take custody of the valuable historic documents and objects. And there's a great story that goes with that, but at the time, Burton and of blessed memory and Marjorie were co-presidents, and they worked with Stephen Nairn. I mentioned one of our board members who is the director of the Fortunoff Archive, and they did sort of a hands-on assessment of what that collection consisted of. It was all being stored off-site in a storage facility, and through their discriminating sense of what is there, they looked at it and saw the value of some of the materials that really really had some financial value. And there was artwork there that the Jewish Foundation was able to sell, and through the proceeds of that artwork, they were able to fund the work that Jake did for us for 2 years, which is an extraordinary story, and we are so honored to have been part of that. And that work was completed over this past year. Last year, we also, with Jake's help, we launched our first online catalog and digital collections platform. We did that with the Connecticut League of Museums, and it's got an online component that is, again, accessible. I mentioned Burton's work that is accessible there. That's huge for us. It again extends our reach. It brings us more research and also more interest in the work that we do. So we're very grateful for the technology and the collaboration that we're able to have with the New Haven, I'm sorry, with the Connecticut Legal Museums. Over this past year, I mentioned the impact grants that we applied for and received. Those were really, again, important for us in reaching our community. And then I will tell you, we recruited 3 new board members, including 2 new officers. We relaunched our oral history program. We raised over $6,000 in Great Give donations, including a match that our board participated in sponsoring. Special thanks to Sid Levine, who really was the chair of our Great Give effort, and we're a grassroots organization, as you know, so $6,000 may not seem like a lot to you, but it makes a huge impact to an organization such as this one. And then last but not least, the Ethnic Heritage Center, as a unit, participated in an archival condition assessment through a grant that was commissioned by Southern Connecticut State University. They actually funded was it Connecticut Humanities?
We got the grant from the Connecticut Humanities, yes.
Okay, it was Connecticut Humanities,
Yeah,
my mistake.
Yes.
Connecticut Humanities funded it, but it was done in conjunction with.
There were faculty members from Southern Library that helped us in creating a job description to hire a part-time archivist to prepare an inventory of what all 5 societies had and what needed to be done to preserve and protect the most vulnerable aspects of our collections.
It's a great opportunity for me to call out Amy Beth, who is the director of the Bewley Library, as well as the head of the library science department. So Amy, if you want to just wave. And Amy has been a supporter and member of the Jewish Historical Society since her arrival, so we are grateful to have her on board. That condition assessment was great for us. I mean, we had been doing our own assessments, but it was good to see that kind of assessment done by the Ethnic Heritage Center as a group, and where we fit into that assessment. With the work in particular, I can tell you that we are probably more advanced. I'm not just a little biased about that, but I think we're further along in our technology. There are things that were pointed out, including some of the items that are being stored at the top that need to find safer homes, and that is something that we're working on addressing. So it's been a busy year. We've done a lot, and again, without the support that we get from members such as yourselves and from donors in the community, we couldn't do it. So we thank you for that. Our treasurer, Harold Miller, could not be with us today, so I'm going to do my best to cover our financials. And this is just kind of a snapshot of where we are as an organization. We started the year with a bank balance of $53,000. So when I say we're a grassroots and organization that operates pretty much on a shoestring, that's what we had in the bank at the beginning of the year. We have had in the past grants. Over this past year, the amount that we have collected during this past year in terms of grants received was a little over $5,000, although we have had over the past few years larger installments of these grants. We have an allocation from the Jewish Federation We apply each year for an allocation in the hopes that that allocation will be greater. The way that works is we place our requests in, and on a quarterly basis, the Federation, based on philanthropy that it receives, is able to determine quarterly how much we will receive. Over the course of the year, we receive a total of $2,000. We are not there are actually tiers of organizations with certain organizations based on their relationships to the Federation and their missions, such as the Towers and the Jewish Family Service. Those are considered tier 1 organizations. We're a tier 3 organization. And although we think we're important, there is a pecking order, and we get less than some of the other organizations, which we understand. Membership dues, we collected $13,000, $13,471, which again, it takes work. We do mailings, we do emails, we do phone calls, but membership and donations are what keep us going. We had an extremely successful annual award celebration this past year. And we did the prior year too, and I'll tell you a little bit more of that as we move down. We didn't receive the kind of grant money that we hoped for this past year, the previous year, and so it was really important that our annual fundraiser be successful, and thankfully it was. We believe that our honoree Robin Toplitsky helped us a lot in reaching a goal that we probably could otherwise not have reached. And we were able to raise $33,617, and that was before expenses. Our expenses were really kept. We try to keep them down to a minimum. We don't provide a dinner. We have a brunch that we hold in the JCC. Our entertainment consists of students who come and provide musical selections to us. So again, I think it reflects who we are as an organization, as a grassroots organization, but it also enables us to use the bulk of what we raise. I mentioned the Great Give before, over $6,000 there, and income from miscellaneous donations and fundraising. These would be individuals who may come to some of our events where we don't charge admission, but we may have a suggested donation, or individuals who decide that they want to make a donation in memory of or in honor of an individual. We had a little over $3,000 in those. We have 6 funds that are managed at the Jewish Foundation. Some of them are specifically for the benefit of the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven. Some, we are one of several beneficiaries. And there are in these funds that are earmarked for the Jewish Historical Society, $151,000. We have kept those there. We have not taken those monies out for the past, I would say, 4 years. I can't speak to before that. And we want that money to be invested and take advantage of the return that the Jewish Foundation receives. But that is money that we hope will be there for our future. after the 2022 annual celebration at the JCC, when we honored the Vine family, Hyla and Barry Vine, that was the first time we really exceeded our goal for fundraising, and we decided to invest $50,000 from our treasury to be put aside to earn a higher return, with the hope that if we need those funds, we can reach to those funds and they will be drawing a higher rate of interest. We had a group of members of the board who worked on identifying the best way to invest that money, and so that $50,000 is sitting there for us. So we have a bank balance that consists of both that $50,000 and the flow, the spendable money that is totaling $74,000, $74,596. So that is our treasury as of May 31st. We're grateful. We know that in order, unless we can continue to get grants, and we will continue with the help of our board and our staff to seek grant funding for archival support, but we know that we are building the basis, the financial basis for maintaining this organization and its work. So at this time, I am going to share with you our slate of officers, and I'm going to ask those of you who are present to please stand and be identified. The governance committee came up with a slate of officers and new directors for the coming year, and the officers include myself. This will be my second year as president. Our new vice president is Adele Messina. Adele, who has not only her own history with our organization, but a family history. Her mother of blessed memory, Rita Gold, is past president, and so this is a generational thing that we're grateful for. Harold Miller has agreed to extend his role as treasurer for another year, and unfortunately he couldn't be with us today, but we are really honored and excited to have Mark Kaplan joining us as our assistant treasurer, with the hope that Harold will be able to retire after this will be 9 years of serving as our treasurer, and has done an amazing job and remained dedicated to it. Our secretary, who I don't believe is with us today, Jordan Levin, who is an attorney and actually started working for us as an undergraduate intern in our archives, and has remained involved in the organization since then. He will be our secretary. Lauren Miller, who could not be, she's out of the area today, will be our assistant secretary. Some of you may know Lauren. She is she's the immediate past president of Congregation of Jacob, and a member of this leader of this Jewish community. And our immediate past president is Marjorie Drucker. Marjorie, and Marjorie continues to be an invaluable resource to me in my role as president, and we're delighted that she has remained as active as she is. On our board of directors, The following individuals are either joining or returning. Peter Alpert, who is not here today. Arthur Barger, not here today. Elizabeth Brochin, who has been a member of our board for quite a number of years. Bob Kaplan, raise your hand. Rob Forbes, who is a past president. Leah Glazer, who was actually part of our search committee for the archivist. Mimi Glenn, who again has been a devoted member for a number of years. Aaron Good, who has been on our board and has been very involved with the Walk New Haven walking tours, and a devoted member of the EHC, of the Ethnic Heritage Center leadership. Len Honeyman, also. Len is a past president and has been a member for a number of years. Ita Kaplan, who has just completed serving as vice president. Sid Levine, who again I mentioned has been not only leading fundraising efforts, but has been himself a very, very generous supporter of our work. Stephen Naran, who served on our search committee for the archivist and is, I mentioned, also the director of the Fortunate Archives. Joel Sachs is a new member. Joel is also a volunteer at the JCC and a member of Congregation B'nai Jacob. Will be joining us as a new member. David Schwartz is completing his term as assistant treasurer. Thank you, David. And last but not least, David Schlossberg, who has been on our board, has led the membership committee, has worked with us during our strategic planning effort, and unfortunately could not be with us here today.
You misremember Rhoda's
Oh, I didn't mean that. I've been recognizing Rhoda throughout this, and I went right over. Rhoda Zoller Samuel has been, I don't know, Rhoda, how many years have you been up in?
About 20, since 2002.
Well, Rhoda is a past president, and as I mentioned, has been responsible for, I would say, maybe the last 5 years of oral histories that have been done. Rhoda worked side by side with the late Marvin Barger, who had been an archivist and served as archivist for 22 years, and passed away a few years ago. They were a team. Between the interviews and the technology, they really had it nailed, and we are delighted that Rhoda is remaining a member of our board. So, at this time I want to thank Ita for serving as vice president, and David for serving as assistant treasurer. I mentioned that we had a committee that worked on determining the best way to invest the proceeds of our annual award celebration, and David has been part of that. Ita has been a very special member of the board. She has been right alongside me for the year. She has tried to be there to pick up whatever I needed to be done. She covered for me when I couldn't be in different places, and I want to want to recognize her. I'm going to invite Marjorie Drucker to come up and to say something about ETAC. And
These are for you, Rita. The heading, so I'm gonna leave them right there. But I do want to say a word about Rita. I wanted to thank Michael for giving me the opportunity to take a minute to honor you and thank you so much for your service this year. You worked in a lot of different ways to really help and make a difference in this organization. You worked with the EHC, going to meetings on Monday nights. You've been part of the special committees that have been involved with the future of our organization, where we were going to be, some of the programs evolving with the archives that really, you were there. You always were there for the meetings. You were instrumental in the planning and implementation of many of the programs that we've done, whether it was the annual award celebration or the Judith Schiff programs with the New Haven Museum. Anything you needed, you were there. You were there, you came. Where's the meeting? She was there. All she needed was the time and the place. Ita was there. And we just want to thank you for the dedication that you showed in this role this past year. I know you're going to stay on, and you're going to be a very important board member in the years to come. And we just want to say thank you. Want to say anything? No. Yeah. Ita has a lovely cat named Chloe, and so nothing for in the house. You know, cats like to play, so this will be for outside.
we'll take a picture after.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would also like to thank a member of our board who's not here today, but actually resigned the board earlier this year, and that is Harvey Dixon, who served on the board for the last couple of years. Harvey had a number of commitments that just made it difficult for him to remain on this board, but one of the things we're very grateful for, and Mimi has also done this too, when we've had events, when we've needed to register people, when we needed to greet people, when we needed to identify individuals who are attending our programs. Harvey was one of those people who knows everyone, and who has helped us really direct the traffic coming to our events. So we're grateful to Harvey, and we will miss him. A couple of mazel tovs, and one is to Adele Messina, who is our incoming vice president, and who has just received the Congregation B'nai Jacob Shem Tov Award, which is a big deal. Well-deserving, somebody who has dedicated a lot of her time and effort to this community, and we look forward to her vice presidency. And the other is somebody who is not here today, and she may be coming to our open house, and that is Diana Rizza, who is the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Southern Connecticut State University, who is retiring. Diane has been a supporter of our organization from the time she assumed her role. She has come to our events. She has shown an interest in really understanding what we do as an organization during the aftermath of October 7th, when campuses all over the U.S. were experiencing turmoil and some anti-Semitic events or incidents, she reached out to us and wanted us to be sure that if we had messages we wanted to share, that we let her know. And we're very grateful to her, and we wish her the best. We'll miss her. She's been very involved with the development of a strategic plan for the Ethnic Heritage Center as a whole. She's shown incredible devotion to this place. Some of you who may know this building may have recognized coming in that the exterior was freshly painted. That was actually through some of the advocacy that Diane has exercised in her role, and we're very grateful to her.
Just want to throw into that Dr. Kelvin Rutledge is the interim replacing that. He's been with Southern a couple of years, so he's both familiar with EHC and with the work that she's been doing with it, and I hope that helps provide,
Continuity. That's great. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. We look forward to meeting him. So I want to thank our dedicated board and officers for the work that they do. This is volunteer work, and we know that it can be time consuming, and we know that people are very busy. This is a community with lots of nonprofit organizations, and people have to divide their time sometimes, and we're just grateful for the time that they do give us, both their time, their talent, and their generosity. Also want to call out the wonderful staff that we have here. I mentioned Jake, who has been our project archivist and who finished up in March, and Nicole, who joined us right around that time. Also working in our office is Patty Illingworth, who is our intake research archivist. She's the person who receives the request for research, and she's also our office administrator and has been doing this for, I think it's 8 years that she's been with us. And again, these are part-time jobs, and they get incredible amounts of work done in the part-time that we have there. So that is our annual meeting agenda. I want to, the last slide is a save the date, to remind you about our October 27th annual award celebration and brunch. It is open to the public. We hope all of you will join us. Again, the honorees are Kinneret Shiel, Lindsay Lee Gold, and Amy Rashba. It will be a brunch. It will be kosher at the JCC, and I think that keeping in mind that it is our major event of the year and our major fundraiser, and how important it really is to our success, we hope you'll keep that in mind, and you will get mailings and invitations to it. Are there any questions at all, or conversation? Is there any?
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
Can I come up? I just want to take a moment to say that everything that you see here is due to the hard work of our president, Michael Dickinstein, and our archivist, and a very dedicated team that we have here doing the daily work. So thank you, Michael, for everything. That's it.
Was there any
Question back here.
question? More.
Is it customary to have a vote at the annual meeting on directors and officers?
So the way our bylaws are written, we don't need to vote, but if there's, a motion from the floor to accept the slate or accept the reports, and a second, we will absolutely take it.
Second.
Okay. So there's a motion from the floor to, I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but to accept the report and the slate of officers and board members, and seconded by Minnie Glenn. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you.